Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back again with another video, and today I have a longly awaited video for you guys. I'm going to be showing off all the minifigures that I have yet to purchase for my minifig wall. As you can see, I have brick set loaded up. This is what I use to basically take inventory of all my sets and minifigs, and this has been a very crucial component to me doing the series from the very beginning. So now I'm just going to show off the figures that I have left because a lot of you guys have been asking for this pretty much since the series has begun. This was always kind of a difficult video to do because oftentimes I'd have minifigures on the way and there'd be a lot of moving pieces and like things that I may have had in my collection that I wasn't quite sure of, or even some of those brick built figures that I knew I could assemble but just hadn't taken the time to pull the parts from my collection. So that being said, the list is so small at this point that it's really manageable. This is a much quicker video to do than it would have been a few years ago. So I figured, why not get this out of the way? We're so close to the finish line. Let's go ahead and show you guys what we have left. So starting off right off the bat, you can see why this list is super not fun, and it's gonna take some effort to finish this thing off. We have two super rare figures. These are both of the smooth hair Leia variants. I guess long story short, if you're unaware of what the heck this even is, back in the day, I believe the top one came in an X-Wing set, the bottom one came in the Rebel Blockade Runner set, not the UCS one, that one didn't come with minifigures, but the first playset iteration. And there was basically a molding mistake where they just, I don't know, somehow neglected to mold the ridges into Leia's hair. So in select copies of both of those sets, she ended up with smooth hair rather than her normal detailed hair. And as such, both of these figures run for some stupid prices. The really only valuable thing about either of these figures is the hair. So, if you do come across the hair, you can assemble the rest of the figures pretty easily. But what makes this difficult for the series is I need two of them, basically. I need the variant that came in the X-Wing where she's in her like Hoth jacket, and then I need the episode 4 variant, which came in the Rebel Blockade Runner set. And you can see right off the bat the value of these figures, like $280 used, $295 used for the other one. Yeah, basically these are both like $300 figures at this point. So yeah, it's two $600 figures right off the bat. Things do not get much better for us as we keep moving on. This is a pretty newly discovered figure. This is the Commander Fox variant with the red stripes on his stomach. Once again, this is just a printing variation that came in that Clone Wars spider droid set. And this one, the range here is pretty high. Honestly, I think more realistically, this is probably like a $500 to $600 figure, maybe $700, depending on how desperate you are, I guess. But yeah, it's just because of this red torso right here. And that sucks, because this was a figure that I did have from my childhood, but mine unfortunately did not have the red torso. I actually have two of those, neither of which have the expensive torso. So, just 3 figures in, and we already here have eclipsed $1,000 in figures that I'm going to have to collect moving on for this series. So that's really going to be the theme of this. You guys are going to quickly realize why this is such a difficult series to do. And once again, things do not get any easier for us as we move on. We have the Chrome Black Darth Vader. This was a polybag that they did back in the day in 2009. And yeah, it's just, shiny Darth Vader, pretty cool figure. But, this is, once again, $350 figure, which, oh, God, this is rough. This is making me realize, even though we only have 41 figures left, we got a lot of money to invest into this wall before we get done. Next up we have, which is sad to say, one of the lesser expensive figures on the wall. It's the white Boba Fett. This is another promotional figure they did back in the day. This is only like a $210 figure as opposed to $300. So, so far this is the cheapest one on the list, which is very depressing. We got the Tactical Droid up next. This was in that Mace Windu Starfighter set. This is probably one of the more actual like functional figures that I can use. Like up until this point, these have all been, specialty variants, none of which I would really ever include in a mock. But this is actually one of the few like characters that I don't have representation of in my collection. So just from a functional perspective, this would be a nice figure to add to the collection. But that price, it's like a $70, $80 figure now. That's kind of rough. This one I actually do kind of have on the way. I got the pieces for it. Well, the most expensive piece, which is the helmet, at Brick Fair the other week. So I'll be able to add this one to the collection pretty soon, thankfully. Next up, we have the Clone ARF Trooper another, you know, May the 4th promotional figure from back in the day. Just stupidly expensive. It's like a $300+ figure nowadays. And yeah, it's just kind of depressing. Next up is a Commander Cody variant. Now, the one that I had was the one from, I believe, the Public Gunship, and he had the antenna. This is the version of him that comes with the gray visor rather than the antenna. So not an expensive figure at all. In fact, the only reason that this guy is still on this list is because I had 2 of those gunships, which meant I have 2 of the Codys, and I have the helmet somewhere pretty close, but the torso I'm having trouble finding. And but once I do find it, I'll just throw a visor on it and call it a day, and I'll be able to cross this figure off the list. Next up, we have an Obi-Wan with a short cape. This is an expensive figure, I'm pretty sure, just because of the short cape. The short cape was only in the original Sandcrawler set for the Jawas, and for whatever reason, in some old watch set, they just decided to give Obi-Wan a short cape. Next up, this might be actually the cheapest actual figure we have left on the list. This is Sith Trooper, black armor with plain legs. This is the specific Sith Trooper variant from, I believe, like Darth Malgus' ship, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the Sith Fury class Interceptor. So this is actually what I can probably knock out pretty easily. Next up, we got a couple of Droidicas. These are, let's see what sets these are in. This one is from the Clone Troopers vs. Droidicas set. That actually makes a lot of sense. Apparently this one has pearl dark gray arms. This one has flat silver arms. And this was in the AV7 set. So cheap-ish figures, but just ones that need to be assembled. So it's not super convenient to like rebuild those in my collection. Probably just have to bite the bullet and purchase them from Bricklink, even though like this is not $5 worth of parts in my opinion, like at all for either figure. We got a probe droid up next, pretty standard stuff. There's been tons of these, but this is a specific variant from the Battle of Hoth set in 2013. Snow Trooper, light gray hands, light bluish gray. Actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure. Oh no, this is not the one I had that I added to the wall recently. This one I guess does not have a backpack, and it has like the older style helmet as well. So I mean, I have like a few of, you know, the variations of this figure. They've made so many different ones, but this one has like the balaclava head and apparently torso back printing, which was not standard. So this guy came in that same Battle of Hoth. I mean, just buy that Battle of Hoth set. I'm missing so many figures from that specific set, but the Battle of Hoth set, and looks like an advent calendar from 2014. And now we get to where things get totally out of hand. These are the most elusive figures from my collection by far. The 2 New York I Heart Yodas. These were Toy Fair and like a Toys R Us exclusives back in 2013. And it's like, you know, this figure on its own is already stupidly expensive. The prices here are not reflective. Like to find one of these, you're going to be spending probably like $3-4 grand. I think this is sadly the most realistic price you're going to find this thing for. But compounded upon this is the fact that there are 2 different variants. For one of these, they gave him, you know, the light bluish gray hair, and then one of these they gave him the white hair. So same torso, different headpieces. The headpiece is cheap, the headpiece is whatever. But because there are those 2 tiny little differences, you got to pay, you know, for 2 $4,000 figures. And to compound upon the more frustration with this figure, this has to be like the most heavily bootlegged figure when it comes to the more expensive ones. And because the torso is so simple, it's such an easy figure to bootleg. There's so many fakes out there. You got to be really careful when buying these. So you were just in a lose situation if you do want to add this guy to your collection. I'm sorry, these guys to your collection. Next up, we have the Zabrak Jedi Knight. This is from the Jedi Defender class cruiser back in 2013. Pretty cool figure, honestly. You know, I think just as a generic figure, this actually looks pretty cool. Next up, we have female Padawan with small eyes. If you watched the most recent update, I got the large-eyed version, but do still need to cop the small-eyed version. And you can bet your bottom dollar that I am not going to be buying the expensive version of this head, but instead the cheap version. And I'll just cop an Anakin torso and that generic hair piece and common leg piece to finish her off. Next up, we have Stormtrooper, which is awesome because they give you so many details about these figures. You know, every now and again, you'll come across something like this where it's just like, there's a figure and it's catalog, but there's literally no information. It doesn't say it's in any sets. I'm sure if I did some deep diving, I could find out why this is here, but off the top of my head, I just genuinely don't know. But for me, this does just look like the standard Sand Trooper, rather, that was released back in 2014, and he has a black pauldron and no backpack, so that's just pretty much what it's going to be. Next up, Spy Droid. This was I think it was like a book or something. It's a really weird looking thing, but it's not too expensive, so I should actually just get that pretty soon. Next up, we have a snowspeeder pilot with white helmet headset. And also just quick, I guess, aside, and a lot of people, you know, have floated the idea of contributing to the wall, which I am super appreciative of. But there are a lot of weird variants of these figures that are left on this list, so if you're confused about it, I definitely say use these unique identifier numbers right here to just make sure that the figure you have is the one that I need and not one of the many other snowspeeder pilots or other variants of figures that may exist out there, because it is pretty easy to get confused. Next up, we have the prototype Boba Fett, and this was, I want to say, another like recently discovered figure. Basically, this was the one that came in the visual dictionary back in the day, but apparently there's like a slight printing difference between this one and, you know, another one that came in that same book. So another just annoying one I'm gonna have to collect. And this is also kind of an expensive figure now. It's like a $50 figure, so that also sucks. We got more buildable droids coming up next. Got another Droideka, but this one has like the little triangular plates with a sticker on the side, so that's kind of cool. We got an interrogation droid with a syringe. So the last episode I had the interrogation droid with a screwdriver. This is the one from the updated Death Star set in 2016, and they gave it a syringe because it actually makes a lot of sense. Syringes are terrifying, and I'm pretty sure the actual prop in the film was literally just a syringe. Next up, we got the MOC Hunter droid from the Freemaker series. Another just weirdly expensive figure because no one really cares about the Freemakers, yet this figure is super valuable for literally no reason. We got a couple of Lukes coming up next. This is Luke with the flap down. I want to say these are both in like watches or something weird like that. But basically, I think the unique thing about this is that he does have the flap down torso, but neither of these are super like dumb expensive figures. The difference is just, you know, one has the dark tan hair, one has the normal tan hair, but normally he would have his torso with the flap up, but this is flap down torso, so yeah, that's a thing. Next up, we got a couple of Sand Troopers. These were both in that, the Imperial Landing Craft, I believe, from 2018, yeah. It does kind of make me disappointed. Like, this is one of the very, very few LEGO Star Wars play sets that I did not get, basically since 2015. I pride myself on saying I have pretty much almost all of them, but this is one of the few that I did not get. For me, it was just, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get this time, I'm gonna be completely honest. I guess it didn't have any, it had unique figures, but it didn't have any like unique characters that I needed, so there was maybe less pressure on me to get this. And it was also just kind of a weird set. It came out alongside a bunch of really other big sets, so maybe that made it a little bit difficult for me to pull the trigger. What that means now is I do have to collect both of these Sand Troopers, and these are quickly rising in price. You can see these are probably both like $30 figures now, which is very annoying. We got a few Spider Droids here on this list as well, just different variations from various sets. Like this one is from the Spider Droid set in 2013, and this one I'm going to assume is a 2015 or 2016 version, of course. So 2 Spider Droids that I do still need to get. Next up, this one is annoying, man. This was the black VIP Millennium Falcon thing back in the day when the UCS Falcon came out, and I did not get a UCS Falcon, so I did not get this black VIP thing. And yeah, this is apparently a super expensive figure to get too, which is ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this one. We have Clone Trooper with large blue eyes. This is basically a clone, like an animated P1 clone that they gave Anakin's face to for some reason. It's like, how can you make the animated Clone Wars clone face even worse? You give them Anakin's face, and now it's like the worst thing you could ever imagine. So let me quickly get him off the screen. This is yet another recently discovered figure, Chewbacca, with a medium nougat face but dark tan leg fur. There's also a different pattern on the leg fur. This is like some of the like newer Chewies have this leg print configuration, so I'm gonna have to, I don't think I have any. I'm just gonna have to cop one from Bricklink. But fortunately, it's not super expensive. Another weird Obi-Wan variant in some, I guess, I don't know, watch set that gave him a tattered cape for some reason. Which, I mean, like, where it's just like a shortage of like normal brown capes. I have no idea why so many of these Obi-Wans just have weird capes of all things. Next up, we have Yoda with olive green light nougat feet, which is honestly pretty cursed. This was in that like promotional thing they gave to Lucasfilm employees, and yeah, it was like a little fountain set. As for why he has the dual molded legs, I literally have no clue. Some people have pointed out like, oh, maybe it's boots, but like Yoda don't wear boots. He just has his little green feet exposed, so yeah, I mean, maybe this was just what they had an excess of in the warehouse, but like, I don't know, it looks very weird. This is a very weird figure, and it's gonna be a very weird thing to add to the minifig wall when I have to do that. So I believe that is actually where the actual list ends. These next few figures are the figures from the mechs and some of the newer sets, which I do have, but it doesn't appear that Brickset has quite added them or like linked them to their corresponding sets. But yeah, this is like the Vader from the mag, the Boba from the mag, new Stormtrooper from the mag, and then this is Bo-Katan from, I'm guessing, the Spider Tank set, which I have all of. So yeah, the list officially ends here. That was a not so quick look at the 41 figures that I am missing. So I guess technically, if there's, you know, 3 of these that just haven't been categorized correctly yet, I'm really only 30, I have 38 figures left to get, which I guess is, I'm sorry, 38, no, 37. That's 4 figures that I do already have. So things are a little bit better than I thought, you know, 38 figures, 37 figures. Not the worst thing in the world, but some of these prices, man, this is still a good $10,000 worth of figures, if we're really being honest. I mean, without the Yodas, this is maybe like $2,000 figure list, which it's crazy by all means, but, you know, still somewhat doable, I guess. Gonna finish up the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed taking this look through all these figures and just seeing kind of where the minifigure wall is standing, where the collection is standing. And like I said, I do hope to get this thing finished up. I mean, if we're lucky, by the end of the year, you know, the New York I Heart Yodas are not a realistic expectation anytime soon, but if we can get everything else, I'll be quite happy. So if you like what I do, go ahead, support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.